everyone, I'm Engineer Shane, and today we're going to discuss about Hazard and Control Part 2. Our outline for today will be Hazard and Control for Electrical, Fire, and Chemical. What is electrical safety? Electricity is safe, clean, and quiet method of transmitting energy. However, the source of energy when accidentally brought into contact with conducting material, such as people, animals, or metals, permits dangerous releases of energy which may result in serious damage or loss of life. The principal hazards associated with electricity are electric shock, electric burns, electrical fires, and explosions. So what is electric shock? It is a convulsive reaction by the human body to the flow of electric current through it. Yung tipong nakuryente. Diba? Na-shock tayo ng kuryente. A sense of shock is accompanied by pain and in more severe cases by burning. Kaya mapansin natin kapag ang isang tao na magkaroon ng electric shock, manginginig muna siya, then eventually kapag sobrang lakas na nung electricity na dumadaloy sa katawan as the conductor, as we said, maaari na mag-result into magbaburn na yung skin. Diba? The shock can be produced by low voltages, yung tipong na-shock ka lang ng konti, high voltages, or lightning. And the effect of electric shock and the resultant severity of injury depend upon the size of the electric current passing through the body, which depends on the voltage and electrical resistance of the skin and body. Meron din kasi tayong mga kilala, di ba, yung mga superhuman, ika nga, na malakas yung tolerance nila with the electricity na dumadali sa katawan. But some of the people naman, ang bilis makuryente and ang lakas ng effect sa katawan nila kahit na maliit lang yung voltage ng kuryente na dumadaloy. Next, ito yung ating emergency shock, electric shock emergency action if in case magkaroon tayo ng accident in relation to this. Una, isa-switch off natin yung power, yung source ng electricity kung saan may nakukuryente. And then, we call for assistance. If the power cannot be switched off, we must push or pull the casualty clear of the electric source using any dry non-conducive material available to safeguard yourself. Check for response. If no response, open the airway and remove any obvious obstructions in the mouth. Ang ating initial reaction should be, we should switch off first the power, kung saan nagmumula yung electricity. Second na lang yung we call for assistance, and then tsaka natin hahawakan or i-rescue yung taong nakuryente. Kasi if there will be a case na kapag hinawakan nyo yung taong nakukuryente, makukuryente ka rin kasi ikaw rin naman is a conducive material for electricity. Nakuryente siya, hawakan mo siya, ma-absorb mo yung kuryente na dumadaloy din sa kanila, galing dun sa hawak ng may kuryenteng dumadaloy, pati ikaw madadamay. So ayaw natin ng may casualty na nga tayong isa, pati ikaw na nagliligtas, madadamay pa. Ayaw din natin nun. So first, again, our initial reaction and during this electric shock is to switch off the main power. Yun muna yung ating dapat na unang isipin. Aside from ang normal reaction, siguro natin will be saving the person from that electricity. Pero imagine if ma-switch off natin yung pinagmumulan ng kuryente, everything will be better. Diba? Kasi kesa kunin mo yung tao, makukuryente ka, hindi mo pa na-switch off yung pinanggagalingan, mas lalong maraming possible accident na mangyari. Then next, here we have the emergency resuscitation treatment. If in case napatay na yung switch, na tanggal mo na yung person na nakuryente dun sa area, ang next goal na is to revive the person if unconscious. But if okay naman, wala namang problema. But if this happens, ito yung pwede nating gawin. We tilt the head up backwards, lift chin upwards para makahinga yung tao. Maintain position as in the diagram, which is this one. check breathing, listen for breathing for 10 seconds. So this is more of giving first aid to the person. And then if no breathing, phone for an ambulance since hindi naman tayo nurse or doctor for that. Merong mas expert sa atin to do it. Ang nagawa, if ever nagawa na natin yung role natin to pull the person out of danger, yung out of electricity, yung circumstance na lang kung paano yung body niya makasurvive dun sa shock, yung kailangan nating bigyan ng attention. So, we call for an ambulance for help. Ayan. Pag sabi, no breathing, ayan, magka-come up na tayo with CPR. And then, hopefully, by that method, magkaroon na ng, manormalize na ulit yung tao. But again, need pa rin yan ng medical care since meron ng abnormal na nangyari sa katawan. Next, ito naman for a high voltage situation. Nabanggit na natin siya previously, but kung ganito naman, power na kung ng kuryente yung pinag-uusapan natin. Electrocution by high voltage electricity is normally instantly fatal. Kaya yung mga ating mga electrician na umaakat sa mga poste ng kuryente, sobrang heroic nung ginagawa nila kasi delikado talaga. Diba? Sabi natin, they're working at heights. They're also working with a hazard, which is electricity. Anytime magkamali sila or may umulan, ganyan, di ba? Siyempre, pag ang tubig is a conductor as well ng electricity, kahit malayo ka, pero nakapatong ka submerge ka sa water, and then malagyan ng electricity, ta-travel sa'yo yung electricity. Kaya mag-iingat din tayo. Sabi nila, mag-dry ka ng kamay or i-dry mo muna yung sarili mo bago ka mag-involve sa electricity. For example, naghuhugas ka and then nagsaksak ka ng any equipment, yan, may potential kang makuryente. On discovering a person who has been electrocuted by high voltage electricity, the police and electricity supply company should be informed. Dahil nga, yung kapag high voltage na yung pinag-uusapan, malaki na yung potential na fatal na yung effect. So, kahit ano pang heroic natin with the act to help that person, it may also affect us na hindi pa tayo makatulong. So, better call the police and yung, sabi nga dito, electrical supply company. Para, dahil mas alam nila yung mga kailangan gawin kapag may nangyaring emergency like this. If the person remains in contact with or within 18 meters of the supply, then he or she should not be approached within 18 meters. Imagine, 18 meters, kailangan yung layo mo from the person na electric shock if high voltage yung pinag-uusapan natin. Ganun kalayo yung safe distance for you. Until the supply has been switched off. Again, protocol is switch off mo na yung supply kaysa lumapit ka, iligtas yung tao. And clearance has been given by the emergency services. Reminder, high voltage electricity can arc over distances less than 18 meters, thus can electrocute the would-be rescuer. So, kaya 18 meters yung binigay na safe distance is, sabi dito, yung electricity nag-arc, hindi siya like straight lang na 18 meters ka dapat or less than. Ibig sabihin, tumatawid yung electricity within that range. So, dapat mag-iingat tayo. Next is electric fire. So, aside from giving shock from electricity, electricity can also cause fire. Electrical fires are often caused by a lack of reasonable care in the maintenance and use of electrical installations and equipment. Ika nga, from yung electricity, nagpo-produce siya ng spark na eventually can cause big fire. Lalo na sa construction, the most common causes of fire in electrical installations are short circuits, overheating of cables and equipment, ignition of flammable gases, and the ignition of combustible substances by static electrical charges. Sa construction kasi, gumagawa tayo ng mga temporary switches para ma-distribute yung mga electricity na gagamitan for the tools and equipment. Since kapag construction, wala pa naman tayong permanent power, that's why nagtatap lang tayo sa isang area and then dinidistribute na yun. Imagine the requirement of electricity sa isang construction. Lighting, mga office equipment, and then isa-serve mo pa yung office ng client, and then yung ginagamit ng mga construction worker na mga kuryente for equipment, for pag mga structural, yung mga tower crane, yung mga lifting cranes, diba? And for example, yung mga placing boom na nag-require ng malalaking amount ng electricity. That's why kapag hindi na-maintain ng maayos ng safety officer alongside with the project engineers and the project manager yung isang site, kumbaga tap lang ng tap from the from tapping from the main electrical, di ba? Tapos biglang ipapasok sa construction, and then magta-tap pa from different for different reasons, di ba? Mag-overload, and then yung mga connections na pinagagawa maaring mag-cause ng spark doon sa construction. Tapos may mga kadikit pang mga basura or mga papel or ano pa example, may tubig din doon na kadikit nung electrical tappings. Potential talaga magkaroon ng shock and fire. Kaya delikado sa construction to. Ano yung mga hazard na pwede nating iwasan? Example, electrical outlet covers. Kaya merong mga outlet covers is at least to prevent magkaroon ng contact doon sa electric outlet, and at the same time, walang mag-cause doon ng hindi makapasok yung kahit ano doon. Dust or water, walang splash. The interior of the panel should be kept clean and dust-free by using a valuable vacuum cleaner. So aside from preventing any particles going in, para maayos din siyang malinis. Second is overheating of cables and equipment. Kahit ano namang equipment ginagamit natin, whether it's our phone or yun nga, yung mga gamit natin sa construction, kailangan din natin i-maintain na hindi rin siya mag-overheat. Pag nag-overheat, anong mangyayari? Sasabog yung battery, magkukos ng fire. Diba? And again, accident din yun. To prevent it, we should use multi-socket outlets, ensure cables are not loose, observe proper ventilation to maintain safe temperatures. So, more probably, ito naman relate tayo na hindi natin pwedeng isaksak lahat sa isang extension, for example. Di ba? Kung naka-main ka, tapos nag-extension ka, ang daming extension, tapos ini-extend mo pa ulit. May certain rule dyan na dapat yung extension mo should be capable of handling multiple extensions pa. And at the same time, maging well-ventilated yung area para hindi uminit yung equipment natin agad-agad. Third is incompetent electricians. So we as a professional on-site, kailangan guide natin yung mga people natin, whether it's also the engineers and the construction workers, na kailangan may care sila dun sa gamit. And again, dahil electrician sila, about the electricity na, sir, ikaw ang electrician namin, you should be well aware of the potential risk kapag regarding electricity. And dahil ikaw yung may alam about the connections and ikaw yung more of nagko-control sa mga yan, sa electricity, be aware na kailangan ma-maintain natin siya ng maayos. Prevention is to hire electricians working to recognized standards. Hindi lang yung basta electrician kuno. Kailangan yung talagang diligent mag-connect and maggawa ng mga connections with the extensions and patungo dun sa mga equipment, and provide trainings as well. Ang masusupport naman ng employee, ng project manager or ng client is to give trainings once in a while para ma-refresh din yung memory and skills ng ating mga electricians. The fourth one is the sustainability of electrical safety. Ito naman, for a bigger scope naman, we should provide regular testing and inspection so that the maintenance can take place. Kasi nga naman, people in construction mostly come and go. So, kung hindi alam ng mga tao yung regulations about electricity, kailangan merong taong once in a while magre-remind sa kanila ng mga rules para naman kung ano yung pinapanukala ng project manager dun sa construction site, maging aware sila. Although, pwede rin naman natin sabihin na it's a protocol already, it's standard naman, bakit kailangan pa i-discuss? Again, it is for us to refresh our minds about kung ano ba yung mga kailangan natin gawin. Kasi minsan, kahit na alam na natin siya, nakakalimutan pa rin natin. So, it is our role to remind the people on site kung ano yung mga responsibilities nila in terms of handling electricity. What are the emergency procedures following an electrical incident? Ito yung nabanggit na natin kanina doon sa ating flow chart. But again, remind natin para hindi na natin makalimutan ang ating electrical emergency procedures. We must switch off and or disconnect the supply of electrical device that caused the incident. The victim must not be touched until there is no longer a possibility of contact with the electric current. Fire procedures should be activated if there is a fire from electrical equipment malfunction. Following the incident, an investigation should take place. Of course, from switching off to having an investigation kung bakit, ano yung source, yung electric incident, kailangan natin malaman and para ma-prevent na natin, ano yung pwede natin gawin for the next para again, hindi na yun mangyari ulit. So, part yun ng risk management process natin. We're going now to fire. Ano ba yung mga topic na i-discuss natin dyan? It's about fire risk assessment, fire prevention and prevention of the fire spread, evacuation of a workplace. Sabi dito, fire cannot take place unless three things are present. Ano ba yung mga yon? Fuel, yung mga flammable gases, liquids, and solids, ignition source or the hot surfaces, electrical equipment, static electricity, smoking materials, naked flame, and oxygen, which is from the air oxidizing substances. So, kapag may fuel and then na-ignite siya, then oxygen is just around naman ng ating earth, di ba? Kapag nagsama-sama yung tatlo, magkakaroon ng fire. Prevention depends on avoiding these three things coming together. Given this, oxygen is nandyan na, hindi na natin matatanggal. So, it's either, ang i-prevent na lang natin sa construction to avoid this risk is ma-expose yung fuel to ignition. Or, pwede kasing gagamitin natin yung fuel, wala namang mag-ignite, okay lang yung fuel. Pwede rin namang meron tayong electrical equipment, but wala namang fuel para, di ba, para maging source ng fire, okay lang din. Hindi tayo magkakaroon ng fire. So, what are our hazards and control for fire? Makapansin natin dito, meron tayong 2 rooms na may mga materials and let's see kung paano natin ma-differentiate ito. So this part is before the fire risk assessment and for this part is after the fire risk assessment. Pansinin natin, we have here the gas cooker which is the ignition source. Tapos meron din tayo dito mga cardboard boxes na combustible, ibig sabihin nasusunog na mga materials. And then meron din pala tayo ditong ashtray kasi may nagsusmoke dito, imagine. Meron din ditong portable heater kasi electrical equipment siya. Source niya is electricity to function. Yan. So, meron din tayo dito on the other room na stack of newspaper, a combustible materials, mabilis ulit masunog. Meron din ulit na portable heater. And then, meron din tayo ditong display carousel with disposable lighters. So, social to. Electrically sourced din to. Then, magazine rack. So, kung mapapansinan nyo, combustible materials plus electrical equipment na sana hindi ma-malfunction or ma-misuse, if in case, pwede mag-produce ng fire. So, what we will do here, dun sa other room is, meron tayo ditong gas cooker replaced with a microwave. So, instead of yung switching, diba, yung gas stove, ito ginawa na with a microwave. Ayan. And then, smoking not allowed. Yun na yun. Kanina dito meron pang nagsasmoke sa room na to eh. Enough suitable storage shelving provided. So meron, sige, meron pa rin mga boxes pero inayos niya. And then now, desk facing the corridor. Hindi na siya open lang doon sa kitchen, ika nga. Then for the second room, we have here the fire extinguisher provided. And then nilagay yung portable heaters sa isang fixed area. Kasi kanina dito, nasa sahig lang. And then display carousel move closer to a supervised counter kung saan mas nakikita siya. And then smoke detector fitted. Kumbaga naglagay tayo ng device para kapag may smoke, madedetect and mag-a-alarm. So, mapapansin natin dito, etong room na to, maraming potential risk na mag-cause ng fire. But this one, yes, meron pa rin mga combustible materials, pero mas aware tayo. And nilagyan natin ng mga fire safety devices. Yung fire extinguisher, itong smoke detector, then pinalatan natin ng equipment, and then yung supervision, mas aware na. So, ano ba yung stages na pwede nating gawin to identify yung fire and ma-assess natin yung risk well? Stage 1 is to identify fire hazards. This is what we're doing before pa nung ating lecture about risk assessment. We need to identify first ano ba yung mga hazards natin. So, let's identify any combustible material, any sources of heat, any unsafe acts, and then any unsafe conditions. For the stage 2, identify persons who are at significant risk. Examples, mayroon bang mga taong natutulog doon sa site? Are persons physically, visually, or mentally challenged? Siyempre, kapag meron silang incapabilities, maaaring silang mag-cause ng fire or at the same time, hindi sila agad makareact doon sa situation. So, kailangan din natin silang alagaan. People are isolated. For example, nag-work yung mga construction workers sa isang kulob na area, tapos gumagamit sila ng equipment, plus may electricity, delikado din yun. Identify natin yung mga yon. Then third, evaluate and reduce the risk. Kung alam na natin yung mga hazards, alam na natin yung mga person na pwedeng exposed sa risk, we should evaluate and plan na means of detecting and giving warning in case of fire. Kailangan ay i-inform natin sila na kung gagawa sila sa isang isolated na place, kailangan meron silang katabing fire extinguisher or may ventilation sila na maayos, and then alam nila kung saan sila pupunta, lalabas kapag may nangyaring emergency. Yan, means of escape, signs for exits, fire routines, firefighting arrangements. So this also works kapag gumagana na yung building or kahit nasa bahay lang ninyo kayo. Kaya mag-iisip kayo ngayon sa bahay ninyo, ano ba yung mga bagay na pwedeng masunog? Nakadikit ba yan sa mga electrical outlets? And then, nasa kulob ba kayo na room? Saan kayo lalabas? Stage 4, the findings. The date of the assessment was made. Kailan ba ninyo ginawa yung mga rules na yan? Baka naman ngayon iba na yung situation. And ano ba? May nagbago na ba? The hazards identified. And then any staff and other people, especially at risk, baka mamaya nadagdagan na yung mga tao, dumami na yung mga kailangan i-attend. What actions needs to be taken and by when? And then conclusions arising. So yan, itetest natin kung gumagana ba yung mga ginawa nating risk assessment. And then stage 5, again, after doing all those things, identifying and then provision ng mga gagawin, diba? We also need to monitor and review on a regular basis. Hindi porket nakagawa ka na ng isang safety procedure regarding fire, okay na yon. We should be continually monitored to ensure that the existing fire safety arrangement and fire risk assessment remains realistic. Then here, for the fire prevention, ano ba yung pwede natin gawin? So may same with this part na gagawa lang tayo ng scheme natin, paano natin mape-prevent yung fire. Una, we need to provide good housekeeping, control of flammable and combustible materials. Again, control of flammable and combustible, yung mga madaling masunog. Ano ba yung mga yan? Papel, plastic, diba? Glasses, hindi naman masyado. Mga steel, hindi rin naman. More of nag-absorb lang sila ng heat. Diba? Control of ignition sources, yung mga saksakan, mga electrical equipment, and system of work. Ano ba yung mga ginagawa nating activities sa construction site? What we can further do is to ensure that the storage and display areas are adequately controlled and monitored. Kaya dun sa mga construction workers and dun sa mga offices natin, kailangan meron tayong mga safety officers, engineers, professionals na nagmo-monitor ng area. Dangerous substances should be kept in a safe place in a separate building or an open air. This is in terms of storage naman ng mga materials. Paint, yan, combustible yan. Or ano ba yung mga papel, mga cartons, yan. Kailangan nakastore sila in a proper space or sabi dito, an open area. Have a compartment or firewall as a part of a building to contain a fire for a specific time. This pertains naman sa mga bahay, sa mga structures na it's better to invest in a firewall para hindi tayo makadamay ng ibang building kapag may fire. Firewall serves as a wall kapag may fire. Makapal siya na buhos na nasa pagitan ng two structures. Yun yung, kumbaga, before the fire goes to the other building, yun muna yung sisirain ng fire, which is normally matibay na hindi na siya tatawid dun sa kabila. And mahal siya for the building construction, but it's worth it if in case fire happens. Then last is to have a fire detection and alarm system, a schematic plan, and fire extinguishers. So ito, pwede natin gawing step is to provide equipment for fire detection and alarm systems. Hindi pong sprinkler, smoke detector na kapag mayroong fire involved or nangyari, mag-a-alarm siya. Schematic plan is yung mga fire exit plan na ilalagay natin sa mga pinto or openings para if in case fire happens, alam ng mga tao kung saan sila pupunta, and fire extinguishers as for the first aid. Speaking of fire extinguisher, we have here the acronym para mas madali nating matandaan kung paano natin gagamitin ang fire extinguisher as our first aid to prevent the fire spread. We have here the pass, pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, and sweep side to side. Kung nakatanda kayo ng mga fire safety training, ito yung ginagawa natin. Pull the pin, meron siyang pin on this part. Siyempre, pag tinutok mo na agad, hindi mo siya mapipindot actually unless you pull the pin. Pull the pin, then pwede na siyang mapindot. Ngayon, hindi mo rin naman agad pipindutin. Kasi kung nagpapanik ka, what you may be initially doing is, pipindutin mo agad yung pin, itutok mo agad, tapos ipapress mo agad yung pin. But again, hindi mo siya mapipindot hanggat di mo pinul yung pin. Ngayon, pag pinul mo naman yung pin, tapos pinindot mo siya agad, hindi ka pa naka-aim, sayang, yung fire extinguisher at the same time, yung hose niya, kung saan-saan gagalaw. So, hindi mo rin ma-reach yung goal mo. So again, pull the pin, aim for kung nasaan yung fire, and then saka mo i-squeeze yung trigger, tapat mo sa fire, and then saka mo i-sweep side to side para mapatay. And ang magiging reaction ng extinguisher is, kung napapanood nyo, kung ano yung lumalabas, it's a white, di ba, smoke, and then malalaki siya. Kaya expect nyo na kapag ginamit niyo yung fire extinguisher, tapos syempre pag pinindot mo, may force yun palikod. Kaya be mindful na hindi lang siya basta para kang nagsispray. Di ba? May ano din siya, may pressure din siya from the bottle na kung nasaan yung fire extinguishing material. Kaya expect na kapag inay mo siya and then pinrest mo yung, squeeze mo yung trigger, may force on your part. So, kailangan stiff ka, and then, wag magpanic, sway side to side, sweep side to side, kung saan may fire, hanggang sa mamatay. Okay, yung fire. Okay, next is the evacuation of a workplace. Ito na yung last natin for this one, kasi, kahit ma-prevent natin yung, if in case hindi natin kayang apulahin yung apoy, we can stop the fire, we still have option. And this is to evacuate the workplace. Means of escape in case of fire are the doors, escape routes, the fire exit, and then signs and lighting. Ang yung building, kailangan merong fire exit na access if in case a fire happens. And kung may time kayo to check your mga condominiums, mga apartments, or mga malls, meron kayong makikitang fire exit sign. Ito for example, fire exit sign sa ceiling na part. And then meron din sila mga arrow kung saan yung fire exit. Kaya masarap sa pakiramdam when you are going in an establishment na mayroong mga ganong fire safety materials. Kasi at least, if in case fire happens, alam nyo kung saan kayo pupunta, and kung at least may chance kayo to be safe. Ayan. And mapapansin nyo rin sa sinihan, for example, nagbabanggit before the movie starts kung saan yung mga fire exit if emergency happens. So, sana ma-appreciate nyo yung mga ganong protocol since it really helps when something bad happens. Parang pupunta kayo sa mall and then, just a curious observation. Tingnan nyo kung nasaan yung fire exit kasi we may never know kung kailan natin kailangan yung information yun. Kasi if in case something happens, tsaka pa lang kayo maghahanap ng fire exit, nakakapanik kasi yun. Panic na kayo kapag may fire na eh. Initial reaction natin when something happens na hindi natin inaasahan, magpapanik. So, why not in a normal situation, mag-observe na kayo kung saan yung mga fire exits para naman, yun nga, when emergency happens, alam na ninyo kung anong gagawin ninyo. So here we have a fire evacuation diagram. May kita nyo to sa mga walls ng fire exit or sa mga hagdanan or mga elevators. Ganon. We have here the fire extinguisher. Ito yung mga symbols nila. Ayan, may fire extinguisher daw dyan. Sabi, then the dry powder fire extinguisher, the fire hose. So, fire hose is, may tubig yun kapag inactivate ninyo. Nakaabang lang siya. Ayan, and then mayroong fire blanket, fire door, fire exit door, the sliding fire door, and the egress route. Kung saan kayo pupunta if in case fire happens. So, ayan. So, ngayon, na-appreciate na natin or naging aware na tayo na, this is the use of this diagram pala. Diba? Ayan. So, next, the last topic for this hazards and control part 2, chemical. So from the word itself, mga chemical substances present in the construction. Chemical forms, classification and health risk from hazardous substances, assessment of health risk, and then how do we control those? So what are the chemical and biological safety? It is a hazardous substance, one which can cause ill health to people at work. Yung electricity kanina can cause burn, electric shock, and then death. It may even cause death. Kapag fire naman, almost the same. Pwede ka rin ma-burn, hindi ka makakahinga, and can cause death as well. Dito naman, chemical is about going inside your body na pwede tayong magkaroon ng ill health. Kumbaga, magkakasakit. Diba? Hindi siya tipong, pwede rin mag-burn for the external, but more of chemical and biological safety, yung effect sa katawan natin, inside. Such substances may include glues and paints, welding fumes, and dust. Wherein, itong mga to, nakikita talaga natin and present sa site. Hindi natin to maiiwasan kasi ginagamit natin talaga siyang materials pang-construct doon sa project natin. So, meron tayo ditong mga symbols ng mga chemicals to indicate kung ano ba yung effect niya, ano ba yung tawag dito, ano ba yung mga ano ba yung dating niya sa atin. So, once nakita natin itong mga figures na to, alam na natin. Ito ang pinakasikat, yung may skull. Ibig sabihin talagang, malala yan. Kapag ito ay nagamit mo to or nakain or na-inhale, yan, delikado sa katawan natin yan. So, better be aware of this chemical symbols. And makikita nyo to sa mga ginagamit ninyong mga construction materials. Be observant as well about this. And sabi nga natin sa previous lecture natin, na meron kailangang ipasa na material safety data sheet, MSDS, to check if ano ba yung composition ng materials na gagamitin natin sa site. And before siya gamitin sa site, kailangan i-approve muna ni client, ni project manager, pati ng safety officer, and the engineers. Kahit na ma-approve siya, knowing with this mga indications na delikado siya, pwede pa rin naman siyang magamit. Ang role naman natin, again, is to prevent this hazards to happen na may malason, may hindi makahinga, may mamatay. Okay? So, meron din tayo dito na mga symbols na highly flammable, or explosive. Ayan. So, aware tayo dapat sa mga ganitong type ng chemical hazards na most likely present sa ating mga construction materials. So, how will we assess those risks? First is we ask the question, what substances or products do you use? For example, paint. Yung paint na yan, normally meron siyang effect sa odor and then eventually sa lungs. So, yung mga construction workers na involved sa paint, yung ating mga painters, kailangan it's either they wear mask para hindi sila ma-expose fully doon sa risk na yan. What are the health hazards? So, sabi natin, yun na, posible nilang maamoy yun and ma-affect yung lungs nila in the long run. Are you following the principles of good control practice? So, yes, okay, maintain mo yung current protocols mo. Don't know, so you must seek advice and then gawa ka ng essentials. Ano ba yung dapat mong gawin? If no, you must investigate and provide improvements para maging safe yung mga tao sa construction in terms of chemical hazards. So, this is more of a relatable flowchart naman. Identify natin kung ano ba yung ginagamit nating produkto sa construction site and then ano ba yung mga potential na mangyari dun sa materials na yun in terms of chemical, diba? And then ano ba yung ginagawa natin yan? Yes, don't know, or no. Gagawa lang din tayo ng steps towards that. And then, for the employers naman, ano yung mga rules nila to keep the people from chemical hazards? They can identify hazard and potentially significant risk, taking action to reduce and control risk, keeping control measures under regular review. Again, kung expose yung mga tao sa paint, tapos hindi pa nakamask, tapos nasa kulong pa na kwarto, wala pang ventilation, kawawa yung mga tao and hindi man makita yung effect kapag chemical hazards agad, unlike electric shock and fire, kailangan din natin silang alagaan kasi again, if yung mga tao na yun, if you treasure them and then they will work for your construction for the longest time, kailangan mo na sila alagaan kasi paano yung manpower mo if magkakasakit sila? And then also, we can provide as the employers the proper ventilation, the proper supervision, and then the proper personal protective equipment or the PPE, well-kept storage, again, yung mga paints, yung mga glues, yung mga hazardous chemicals, kailangan nakasecure sila in a proper place, hindi lang sila pakalat-kalat kung saan sa construction. And then waste management. Upon using those cans or yung mga paints na tumulo lang dyan, kailangan marunong din tayo mag-properly segregate ng mga bagay and dispose them. Kasi kung hindi rin natin siya i-dispose ng maayos after natin gamitin sa construction, maaaring other people naman, civilians, will be affected by those. Kuwari, yung paint na hindi naubos, wala nang takip, nilagay mo lang sa labas ng construction mo, sino maaaring makaamoy nun? Yung mga taong dumadaan sa paligid ng construction we're in. Again, we need to care for all the people in terms of safety. So that's it. My reference for this lecture is The Introduction to Health and Safety at Work by Phil Yu and Ed Ferret. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop your comments on the section below and I'll be happy to answer those. That's it for our today's discussion and I hope you learn, everyone. For more content and learnings from me, please follow me on the following social media platforms, and this video is in partnership with Cloud Construction Consultancy. See you on the next video. Bye!